All right, all right, all right. Joel, you kind of stole my that intro because I've been using that intro for my podcast here, and then you stole it when you did Nas's commitment. So you used my start line there. All right, all right, all right. I did hear that in the video, but it's okay. I'll let it slide. So today I got Joel Hartman from Prospect Dugout. Joel is the co-founder of Prospect Dugout. Joel also he played professionally, professional levels of baseball, and now he's a entrepreneur. And many of you will know Prospect Dugout through their social media presence. I feel like if you're a baseball player, you're definitely following Prospect Dugout. You're definitely following, youth prospects and stuff like that. So you're definitely one of those main accounts that across the board all baseball players follow to get their content. But obviously that's not your main source of business. We'll get into that in a minute. You guys have a mobile app that you guys use to help amateur players. But we're going to talk about all of this. So Joel, I really appreciate you hopping on. Really appreciate you helping me out with a few things along the way. We got connected recently, and super hyped to be talking to you.
Heck yeah, buddy. I'm excited to be here. Happy to share some time with you and some value. Definitely, I see that banner you got behind you, Division 3 lives matter. And that's what Prospect Dugout is all about. We believe that every amateur baseball player has a shot to play in college. They just gotta be seen, man. A lot of kids go unseen and they miss out. So whether they play D1, D3, JUCO, NCCAA, it don't matter.
Right, right. So, like I mentioned before, you did play professional baseball. What levels did you make it to? Like, what was like the peak, and I guess how did you get into professional baseball?
Yeah, for sure. So after my senior year of college, I went undrafted. Didn't know what to do. Had no idea how to get into professional baseball. Um, did a couple of tryouts. Didn't really do well. Took pretty much a whole year off. That whole summer and fall after my senior year, didn't do anything. And then in the spring of 2008, I'm sorry, 2007, I actually went to a winter league in Arizona. Played about 15, 18 games there. Did really well and got my first professional contract. It was for the St. George Roadrunners of the Golden Baseball League, which is no longer around. But that was my first taste of professional baseball. I ended up playing 5 seasons of independent ball. The highest level I really got was with the Washington Wild Things. I played a season and a half there. Got a ton of at bats with them. It was a really, really good experience being there.
Right, and was that always a goal for you out of college to play a professional?
Ever since I was 5 years old, man, I wanted to play Major League Baseball and never got there. I struggled out of high school to even get to college. And then, like I said, after college, didn't know what to do for pro baseball. And that kind of is what helped plant the seed or led to the growth of what Prospect Dugout is today.
Right. So, you know, now that you're in your post playing days, and even a little while ago, how did the lessons that you learned as an athlete and even in pro baseball, how did that help you with prospect dugout or even your post playing career ventures? Because I'm sure you do other things as well, but like what things as an athlete have you carried over?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things or one of the ways that I really describe baseball is that it's an individual sport played at the team level, right? If you're not at the top of your
Yeah,
game, you're not going to be able to gel with your teammates. You're not going to be able to perform, but you have to play as a team. But when you go out there and you have your at bats and you're out in the field, you're on your own and you're doing everything that you can to be the best that you can be. But then you have to do it in unison with your teammates.
yeah,
I took that same approach outside of baseball into the business world. I'm not a fan of working a 9 to 5. I don't want to be limited to what I can and can't do. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had entrepreneur tendencies, whether that was, when I was 6, 7 years old, raising birds in my backyard. Uh, they'd lay eggs, hatch the babies, raise them. I'd hand feed them, sell them to the local pet store. Used to climb trees, pick fruit, sell it outside, on the road. And then, as I went and got into the game of baseball, I really learned, how to refine my own skills, how to really, put in the work on my own, getting up early, when no one wants to go and train, going to the
right,
gym, going to the
right,
going to the baseball field, and doing my sprints and things like that. And so what I really learned from playing college baseball and professional baseball is that you have to put in the work. You have to be good at what you do, and you have to do it over and over again. And one of the main lessons that I took from baseball, and that I think about it every day is failure is a part of what you do. And if I fail, I'm not unhappy. If I fail, I take it as a learning experience. I take it as a lesson learned, and that now as I move forward, I can learn from that, and I can be better. So I really think just the whole whole saying of if you get 3 hits out of 10 at bats, you're a Hall of Famer. And so if you look at that from the other side, you're failing 7 out of 10 times, and you're considered really good. So I think that
Yeah.
that has helped me in business, because there's a lot of things that you want to do, but you get a no. You go out and pitch your company, you pitch this, you pitch an idea, and people say no all the time. There's so many people out there that if you listen to the no, you could shut down and stop doing what you do. And I think baseball has really helped me with that. Keep going.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting how you compare it to business in a sense where, it's individualized, but especially like if you have a partner, like I know you have a co-founder, I work with people for the things I've been doing recently.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, you can't just rely on the other person too. I mean, like you have to take, responsibility onto yourself to send out emails, to make phone calls. You know what I mean? And in a
Mhm.
sense, that's where you're performing by yourself. You know what I mean? Because nobody's helping you. Like you got to write out the email. You guys, hit the send. You know what I mean? You got to do the, like do the work to get those contacts and all that stuff. So I think it's interesting how you can make those kind of comparisons in business and for baseball because I
Yeah,
feel
and
like
I
baseball is like a really specific sport where not many other sports are seen as a team sport, but if you really understand it, it is very individualized.
Yeah, and I think accountability plays a factor as well, because, like I said, it is an individual sport, right? Because you have to keep up with what you're doing, but also your teammates, if they're not putting in the work, they're hurting you. They may not, they may not get the stats and things like that, for their own personal career. But hey, if you go up there and you're going 0 for 3 every time, if you're booting the ball, in the outfield, and you're causing my pitcher to have to throw an extra 10, 15 pitches, I mean, that's not helping. So, holding people accountable to make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do. I'm not asking them to be perfect, but if you put yourself in a position to succeed, you're probably going to succeed more times than you fail.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So now that Prospect Dugout is well known, it's out there, at least among the baseball community, probably many people in the sports world and just like in that close net of people probably know what Prospect Dugout is. But what were the origins of Prospect Dugout? And I guess how did the idea originate with you?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, we are well known, but I think there's more people that don't know about us that than do know about us. So that's the mindset also that I've learned from baseball, is that just because you do good one day doesn't mean the next day you're going to have that success. So I think for us, we always think of, okay, no matter how many followers we have, are we doing what we need to do to impact, that one specific player? The origin of Prospect Dugout, is pretty simple. After after my playing career, I got into coaching. So I was actually traveling for an event, coaching some younger players, and I texted my business partner, who was not my business partner at the time. He was just a former college teammate, and was just telling him about the event. And he asked the question, like, what are those kids going to do when they go home? Like, how are they going to get exposure? And so from that point on, we realized that there was a need in the market, that there was a problem with what was going on. You can go to all these perfect game events, you can go to all these, prep baseball report, all these other different events, and those are great. You need to get eyes on you in person,
Yeah.
but there's only so much money that you can spend. How many $700 showcases can you go to, and how often can you do that with everything that you have going on? And so we
Yeah.
thought about it. There's got to be a way for a player to get exposure just like they're getting now, without having to travel all over the place. And that's where the idea of Prospect Dugout came from, was that we want to put the power of exposure into the player's hands. And what better way to do that than using a cell phone? This was the rise of social media around 2016. Instagram was around, Facebook was already established, Twitter was already established, and there was a lot of videos circulating, things like that. So we said, hey, let's take this idea, let's try it out on Instagram, see if it's even something that catches on. And within 2 months, we had like 10,000 followers. Within 12 months, we were 100,000 followers, and it just took off from there.
Right. Right. And um, yeah, so in terms of like the recruiting aspect, when you mentioned PBR, perfect game, there's an aspect of can I trust this? Because
Mhm.
as somebody who went through that process, like I didn't really want to go to those big showcases. I mean, one, I knew I wasn't going to get recruited to, a huge like Power Five program, but at the same time, like you have to be smart in where you want to spend your money because obviously money makes the world go around, and these people, they're trying to make a living, they're holding these events, but as a player you know, and as parents as well, you need to be smart of where you're putting your money and where you want to get good exposure, but then you also want to get, the best bang for your buck. So,
Right,
I mean,
absolutely, and that's one thing too. Is you know, another concept of prospect dugout is we're not telling you not to go to events. We're not telling you to not go to a showcase. We're wanting to amplify that. So instead of you having to go to showcase after showcase after showcase, and hopefully you do well enough to get your name noticed, right? And then they start paying attention to you. What if we could get your name noticed before you went? What if you started building followers on social media? What if you started pumping your content out there that you're already doing? You're already training. You're already playing with your high school team. You're already playing travel ball. You don't have to wait until you go to a showcase to show that you can play. So if you
yeah.
can establish a timeline of who you are as a player, what you've been doing, and maybe somebody recognizes you, then all of a sudden you're going to a showcase and now people are paying attention to you before you even go out on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And like what you were saying about, how you kind of wanted to start out on Instagram to test if it worked. Obviously, it worked. But your main business is through your mobile app. So kind of now, how did you make the transition from, focusing on social media to being like, okay, now we need to really implement our business model here
Mhm.
on the mobile app, and making an app, from what I know, isn't very easy. Um, but I guess, how'd you make that transition, um, and like your overall work on that app and how it helps players?
Yeah, for sure. So you are 100% right. We've been through a few developers. It's been a long road. We've been building since 2016. It's now 2021. We released a couple of versions of our app in the App Store, and just iOS only, and really used the same process that we used on Instagram. Just promoting what we were doing, and then attaching the reference to the app from that, right? And so just building connections, building relationships, and putting that out there to let people know what we're doing. You could throw an app in the app store. You could, say, hey, download this app and things like that. But really, uh, we met on Clubhouse, right? On the app Clubhouse, and
Yeah.
and one quote that I heard from that app was that everybody likes to buy, but nobody likes to be sold to, right? So instead of us pushing the app and pushing, hey, download this, do this, we just kept pushing what our brand was all about, what our purpose was, and that was to help kids get exposure, and then guiding them to an email list, guiding them to a sign up sheet, guiding them to, hey, go to the app store and download our app. And so that's been, just an organic, trickle down approach of, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what you can do on your own, and then here's how we can help support that.
Right. And I think it's funny about how you mentioned that on Clubhouse in terms of nobody wants to be sold to. I'm not sure if you've ever seen this, but there's a TED Talk, and it's this guy. I believe it's called the Golden Circle, and he says that average sellers or average companies who don't succeed, they tell you what they do. They tell you, I think it is why it can help you, and then they tell you why you do it. But he says, like, companies like Apple, they tell you why they do it, how, like, they go backwards in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like we believe in changing the status quo through, you know, blah
Right.
blah, elevated technology to then help you get, the ultimate, laptop mobile device experience. Um,
Absolutely.
so, I think that that was, a very smart approach by you, because everyone is just jamming down, people's throats, like, buy this, buy this. Oh, I have the
Right.
best this, you know what I mean? But nobody
people
wants to
aren't
really,
looking for people aren't looking for products. They're looking for solutions. They're looking for value. They're looking for
yeah,
things that can change their life. So people are going to go buy gas. People are going to buy groceries. People are going to buy a subscription to whatever, Netflix, things like that, because they want that, right? They don't necessarily, they're not necessarily looking for that product. They're trying to increase the value or enhance the value of their life. They're trying to create opportunity for themselves, and they're going to find the things that make sense to them, and then go ahead and buy the product. So if we can show them something that works, if we can show them something that is going to get them exposure, something that is going to get them, the recognition, that's what they want. And then, okay, how do I get that? And then you work backwards from that, just like you said.
yeah, absolutely. I think that is definitely the optimal way, to selling. I mean, everybody has, their own way of doing it. I'm sure
Mhm.
that, very successful people do it, maybe even a basic way, but they just have a good way of delivering it. But I think that's a good approach by you. And now that you guys, you said that you got to 100,000 over the course of 12 months, you guys are up to 300, something plus, so you guys are
Mhm.
really growing on social media. You hold pro tryouts, where you get scouts there to get, eyes on players. I'm sure your mobile app has grown. I People probably don't follow follow the mobile app as much in a sense because like they just see you guys on social media and constantly posting like these awesome highlights. But you know, I can tell that it's grown because of the partnerships you've made and just,
Hmm.
you can see the development of Prospect Dugout instead of just posting baseball highlights all the time. Now you have, like I said, the tryouts and all this stuff, to your business. So how have you managed that in a sense where the exponential growth over time, and then how have you
Hmm.
been able to branch out to different, brands and other entities to help your business?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And that is something that really has separated us from being just an Instagram page. First 2 years, the only thing that we were concerned about is growth. We want to get our information out there to as many people as possible and generate as much attention as possible. Once we got to a point where, we got 100,000 in the first 12 months, 200,000 in the first 24 months, then we said, okay, now we have an audience. Now we have people that are listening to us. Let's put things out there. We use that growth to create relationships, like you said, in the space with different products, different brands, different companies, organizations, things like that. The only reason we were able to establish those relationships is because of the track record that we had. So the time that we put in building the brand enabled us to take the next step of generating the relationships. Once we generated the relationships, then we could show them what we could do, through our social media presence. My business partner played 13 years of professional baseball. He was actually a player coach in the Atlantic League, and he approached the president of the Atlantic League and said, "Hey, we got this great concept, we've got this great brand, we're helping amateur players, but we really think that based on our numbers, based on those that are watching us through our social media, we think that we can attack the professional baseball market. There's a huge need out there for undrafted college players that are trying to get into professional baseball, just like myself, just like my business partner, because he wasn't drafted either." So the same mindset that we took to build Prospect Dugout for the amateur baseball player, as we established ourselves and as we grew and made connections, we realized that there's a lot more in store for what Prospect Dugout is all about. So after we attained some growth, we decided to say, hey, now we're going to turn this into a business. We're going to see how we can generate revenue. We're going to see how we can, direct our audience to do certain things and see what we can, what we can make of it. So we created a partnership with the Atlantic League in the fall of 2018. In 2019, we hosted our first professional baseball tryout, had 300 guys sign up in 6 weeks, ended up getting 11 of them signed at the event. And then the following year, last year we had our second event. It was supposed to be two locations, but the location in Arizona got shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, so we could only do the event in Florida, which was pushed back. But over those 2 years, those first 2 years, we helped 56 players get into professional baseball. And so coming up this year, we actually have our third pro tryout event that we've done. It's coming up at the end of March, March 19th to the 21st in Vieira, Florida, and we've got 225 guys signed up for that. And so we're really, really excited about that opportunity. But like I said, we've just been from the beginning until a certain point, we had a goal and objective. And then from that point, we said, okay, this is what we've got. Now we're going to start over and try to move towards, another goal and another objective. And, now we're at the point where we have e-commerce, we're working with brands for advertising and things like that. And then also we have, our pro tryouts. So we're generating revenue, we're doing things outside of the app, which is just going to increase the reach and the potential of what the Prospect Dugout brand has to offer.
Right. What's that feeling like when I guess, you see the work that you're putting in come to fruition and you see those guys that get signed, you know what I mean? Because you were in that position too. Like you went undrafted, like we just talked about all that. What's that like kind of seeing, you putting in the work to set up, I guess even from the beginning, from,
Mhm.
to Instagram to the app to the now sitting up these tryouts and watching these guys get signed and, fulfill their dreams. Like, like do you ever have like a moment of like, holy shit, like I just did that, or really, wow, like that guy, like, not saying that he's going to make it to the major leagues, but, he's got a shot to do, whatever he wants to do, in his baseball career. Like, what's that feeling like, when you have, maybe like the 1 or 2 minutes to like reflect on what just happened?
So I could get a million followers. I could get all kinds of endorsements, all kinds of different things like that with companies, brand partnerships, but nothing makes me more excited, more happy than having a college coach DM me or contact me and say, "Hey, can you get me info on this player because I really like him?" Because when I was 17, 18 years old, I didn't even know what to do. I thought I thought you just played high school baseball and then a college asked you to come play for them. That's literally what I thought. And so having been through that personally, I know that same problem exists. I
Right.
know that, there's players out there that have skills, that can play, at a D2, at a D3, at an NAIA school, but they just don't get seen. And so really what it boils down to, for me, I don't care about the growth. I don't care about, how much money we make. My purpose and the reason why we started Prospect Dugout was to help players get to the next level. And so if I can just help one player get to the next level, I mean, that makes my day.
Right, right. Yeah, and absolutely kudos to you guys for, putting in the work and, it's definitely only going to go from here as you guys get bigger and as, more people get eyes on you. So, congratulations on the work you're doing there. But
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. Last question I have for you. Um, I know we've talked a lot. You've given me some advice. Like we've only been in contact for a few weeks now, but you've definitely given me some very valuable information. And like you mentioned, Clubhouse before. Just me and you being in rooms or me hopping in other rooms, I definitely learned a lot. Met a lot of people. It's a pretty crazy experience. But what advice would you give to any young entrepreneur who was an athlete or who's currently an athlete trying to do things? What would you tell them? Based off the trials and tribulations of your career and just the things that you've experienced.
I would definitely say take advantage of your skills. You're probably not going to play Major League Baseball. That's just the truth.
Yep.
There's so many baseball players, so many amateur baseball players, so many youth baseball players, so many college baseball players. There's so many of them, and there's only 750 spots, right? Even with the new rules now, there's 760 or 770 spots, right, in the big leagues. That's not a lot of opportunity. What you can do is you can set yourself up for success. If I could go back to when I was a younger version of myself, I would take more time to focus on what I'm good at right now and work towards what I want to be, right? Don't take for granted the time that you have. Don't take for granted the skills that you have. Don't take for granted the relationships that you have. Everything is going to be able to help you progress and do better and get to the next level, whether that's playing baseball, whether that's just going to college and getting an education. You can be really, really good in high school and not good in college. But if your talent from high school gets you into college where otherwise you might not have gotten there, you have to really understand that that's an opportunity that some other people don't have. Those skills that you have to play baseball, you can use that to create a lifestyle for you.
Yep.
There's many kids that I know on Instagram that have 10, 20, 30, 50, 60,000 followers. And they're using that right now to create awareness of who they are. They're using that to build a reputation about themselves. In 5 years, if they're not playing baseball anymore, they've generated a fan base. They've generated a community that knows what they're doing and they understand what they've been through. My advice would be really double down on what you're working on now, really double down on what you're good at right now, because in 5 years, you may not be able to do it anymore. But if you start right now, it'll set you up for success in the future.
I love it. That's awesome. Definitely anybody who's listening to this is definitely somebody who knows his shit. So definitely listen up, if you're kind of, in the same position that he was when he was younger. I'm in the same realm. So definitely appreciate everything you've been helping me out with. Appreciate your time in this. You're very generous with your time. And
Absolutely.
it was awesome talking to
And,
you.
and think about it. Think about it for you, man. You're playing Division III baseball. You're just telling me a story, about your school and some things that they're going through there. But like, if it wasn't for baseball, would you be doing this right now? If it wasn't for the lifestyle that you've been living and the relationships that you've made and the boldness that you've generated through your failures and the ups and downs of baseball, would you even be in the spot that you're at? So that's something that also I
Absolutely
want to
not. I'll
say
tell you
is
right now. Absolutely not. Yeah.
yeah,
You're right.
just be thankful and be grateful for the opportunity that you have, because you could go back 5 years and reset, and if you did something differently, you might be in a whole different ballgame.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Joel, I appreciate it. Appreciate the words of wisdom. Appreciate your time. And it was awesome talking to you.
Nico, I appreciate it anytime, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.